friends. I'm Jen. I'm the co-founder of Viva Valet, and I am today in my hotel room in Las Vegas, and I'm here attending Health 2.0, and we're having lots of interesting conversations with other founders and other companies about how to better serve you as our customers. And I'm just in time for 5-Question Friday, so I wanted to go ahead and get into the questions. Thank you for submitting these. Number 1, we have, what is the best way to include my children in updates about my health without making them anxious over minor matters? Thank you. This is from an older. This is really exciting. So again, this is from an older asking how to talk to their adult children. And the first and foremost I'll say is, it's your body, your life, your choice, and you get to choose what you'd like to share. And again, I'm thinking about my own life with my older. My older didn't always share the minor stuff because that was also a way for them to protect their own independence, privacy, etc. I was okay with that. I think the thing that you need to maybe have a conversation transparently with your kids about is, if you are an older who is a chronic underreporter of things, you probably need to say to your kids, there's not everything I'm going to tell you, and give your kids the opportunity to actually share that they are concerned that if something does go wrong, because in these years, it can go from stable to unstable very quickly. So have that conversation with your children to tell them what your wishes are and tell them how you're going to be describing what does and doesn't happen to your health, and give them a chance to also share their concerns that they want to be able to be there to help you. I hope that helps, and I think it's a really interesting balance between the needs and the concerns of both the olders and also the adult children. So question number 2, what have we got here? Dad insists on using a ladder to clean gutters, even though his balance isn't great. How have others handled risky behaviors like this without causing problems? I'm chuckling because I was just visiting my own father, and we drove past a ladder that was propped up against a house, and he immediately saw it and said, "Oh no, the ladder police are here, don't touch the ladder." So at least we can make it a joke, because these things do come up in both my family and many other families that I've heard stories from over and over and over, which is ladders are really kind of a no-go once you get to a certain age, because if you fall, it could lead to a fracture, and then that's disruptive for the older. It's also disruptive for the adult child, because it could mean that that fracture leads to a hospitalization, emergency surgery, and then a long-term follow-up, and it's actually disrupting the entire family. And so, how do we do it? I've seen extremes. I've seen where people have gone in and taken ladders away. That's a way of eliminating the problem. It's also taking away some of the independence from your older. It could be having a transparent conversation. It could be having an agreement to say, hey, if you want to clean out the gutters, let's do it together. And so there's a way that your older can still be involved in an activity that he, in this case, the dad, really wants to be involved in. So still let them have a chance to be involved in some of the things that are important for them that involve a ladder. But please be there. Find ways that maybe you can agree that you do collect bulk projects and do those all at once, maybe on a weekend when you're visiting. But again, I'm just still laughing. My dad and the ladder police, that's the way they're looking at it. It is a constant push and pull and tug of war between we adult children trying to protect our olders and prevent a crisis from happening, and the olders also giving us an eye roll. So I'm living this too, so I feel with you. Question number 3, how can I encourage my children to visit when they're able without making them feel guilty if they can't come as often as I like? Oh, this is really interesting, especially if you're living far away from your older, or you are. I think this is exciting because it comes from an older. If you want your kids around, say that, tell them. It's interesting because I'm often hearing the other side of the story, which is not that I'd like my kids to come more often. It's often I'd like my kids to respect my schedule. And I think that's a really core conversation, is you make it really clear what you have going in your own life and where you have zones where you're not available to have them visit, and when you have zones that you are available to have your family visit. But if you're looking for your adult children to come and visit more often, your family to come in often, I think the first step is tell them this. Tell them that you'd love to have them around more, even if you're living in the same state or the same city, that maybe you'd like to do that. Maybe you create a ritual where you have, once a month you have a dinner, or more frequently, whatever that frequency is for you, that you find a way to do something together, even if it's remotely over Zoom, that you can consistently be connecting if that's something that you're craving more of. Again, I usually hear the other way around, which is, don't expect me as the older to drop everything for you because I also have a life. Anyway, interesting stuff. So now we go on to question number 4. Again, thank you. How do I make sure I'm not adding to the problem of making my parents feel insecure about aging alone? Oh, wow, this is interesting. I mean, that question suggests to me that you have been making your parents feel insecure about living alone, which perhaps you're badgering them, or you're not, you're pushing on them a little bit and just try to take things away. And we know that what's happening is probably you're bumping up against something that is a no-go area. So I think part of it is acknowledge that, again, you're older, your parent is really living alone and living independently and enjoying living independently alone. So let them continue to do that, and let them remain independent as long as they can and wish to. And if there's things that you wish to help them with, have those conversations. Again, it's all about permission. And this is what I hear from home healthcare agents, as well as adults, olders themselves, and even people who run even like assisted living facilities, is that they're often, the adult children are reaching in a way that they don't have permission for. So I think that's really something to think about, is if you're causing your parents to feel insecure about living alone, did you somehow overreach? And again, think about that. Make sure that you're still allowing them to do the things that they like to do. Question number 5, here we go. How can I tactfully ask my parents' financial plans and ensure that they have wills or living trusts in place? Oh gosh, I just had a conversation with someone that I was meeting at this conference last night, and we had this conversation about how we were dealing with this, and this particular adult child was saying, I just took my dad out for coffee one day and said, we have to do this. And I don't want to be stuck with things that are possibly going to be managed by myself. Once you're gone, I don't want to be stuck with those things alone. So please open the door and let me help you with this. So I found that was a rather direct approach, and congratulations. His name's Frederick. Frederick was successful with that strategy. So congratulations. Often it doesn't go quite so smoothly. I think for your aging parent, I think the first port of call is, do you have all the essentials in place? And for example, do you have an executor? Who's of the adult children has been appointed as the executor? And whoever that is, have they been given all of the information? So I often see this kind of broken cascade of, I've got an executor, I've got some things that are worked out with the attorney, and those things are never actually shared. I've seen this happen with many families over and over. So I think it's, did you get the executor? Did you get the will? And or again, the living trust for properties and other assets taken care of? Did you file an agreement with the attorney? And do you know where it is? Do you know how to find it? I think last time I was on, I talked about the knockbox, which I'm going to keep coming back to this because I think the idea of it is really helpful and useful. And that's where you can have a structured conversation with the next of kin box, and it gives you a structure for how to have the conversation about each of these things. Like you've asked about living wills or trust, these kinds of things. It gives you a structure for how to handle each of those elements, and then other things that are going to need to be managed at the time of death, really. And so again, a structure, a place to house all that stuff, a set of instructions of how to prepare the documentation. So if there's a way that you can have that conversation to kick off the whole process, it can actually be really positive as an experience to do that. So again, thank you for joining me on my 5-Question Friday journey. Please keep giving us your questions. They're really wonderful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.